I'm Hilton Carter, and I'm a plant stylist, artist, and author. And today, I'm gonna be teaching you how to create a living plant wall. I love bringing the outdoors in, and I'm always looking for new creative ways of applying that passion for greenery in my home. At some point, you gotta actually use the vertical space in your home. You gotta use the walls. What better way of creating living art by creating mounted plants that you can hang up on the wall? So today I'm gonna show you how to find the right location for your living wall, how to get your plant palette together, which plants are you gonna use? Then I'm gonna show you how to mount it. And then I'm gonna teach you how to care for it, the most important thing of all. So I have this nice blank wall here, perfect for a living wall, and the reason why it gets really awesome light. Bright indirect light is gonna be perfect for any plant. Now what's great about this is it is a blank canvas, so I get to maneuver my mounted plants around just to see what feels right, but I'm looking to make it big and broad, have that statement piece right here on the wall. So let's go make some. So when it comes to mounting your plants, you have to mount them on board. Now, what type of board, you might ask? Well, I'm using this particular type of white oak reclaimed wood because not only do I like the color of white oak, I actually love the live edge. That exposed live edge adds a lot of texture to the wall. Now, you can use any sort of wood that fits best for you in the style that you are going for. Before you get started on the mounting part, you wanna make sure you put a little hanger in the back, some sort of picture hanger, whether it's a sawtooth hanger like this or some sort of hoop, something that's gonna allow you to mount it onto your wall safely and securely. That's what's gonna be important. It would be very tragic if you did all the work, putting your piece onto the board, securing it, doing all that work, and then needing to nail something to the back of this. That would be very difficult. So always make sure you apply that hanger first and then start the mounting process. So once I'm all done, it'll look a little something like this. It won't look like this, but there'll be a plant that is protruding from this board. These nails are going to actually hold all of the twine that you're gonna use to secure the actual plant to the board. And we'll be able to then mount it onto the wall securely. And it's gonna look really cool. So when it comes to mounting plants to board, you wanna pick the right types of plants that can actually be applied to board. Those are gonna be your epithets, your plants that actually grow on trees, don't use a lot of soil. They actually grow up in bushes in the wild versus down in the soil of the earth. So you can choose ferns, staghorn ferns, like this little buddy here. All the ferns family, I would say. You can choose air plants, love a good air plant mounted, very easy to mount. It's gonna all be about those plants that can then develop on board, but also those that can live in the light that you have in those areas of your home. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my plant and I wanna position it somewhere on my board, find the right spot. I think in the center, it's kind of perfect here. And I'm gonna take a marker, pencil, something to give myself a guide to where I want my nails to go. These nails are going to actually hold all of the twine that you're gonna use to secure the actual plant to the board. Now, once I've figured out where my nails are gonna go, I'm gonna start nailing into the board and get those nails down at least, I'll say, halfway in at a slight angle downward. Now I'm placing these two top nails at a slightly different angle than my bottom nails, just so that when I am looping around all of the twine, it can hold everything, the moss, the plant, the soil, all together very securely. So now that my nails are in the board, I am going to get my moss ready. Prep that before I start removing the plant, just to make sure that my roots are getting all the things they need to keep them well moisturized. Now, we have some of our nice preserved moss here. This is gonna hold everything together at the very end. And I have my sphagnum moss here that I'm gonna mix in with my peat and also my regular potting soil. They need that soil to stay a bit moist, so that's why we're gonna add the moss here and also our peat there. So I'm gonna pour a little water over top of both mosses here. You're adding water so that they can start to soak in all that moisture. Through the care process of plants like these, that's what's going to help your plants stay alive. Keeping that moss, keeping that soil a little bit on the damper side helps pull all the moisture to the roots of your plant. Now, I'm gonna get all of this a bit wet here. The damper it is, the better it is to then apply or mix into the soil, and also to hold together once you are tying it or wrapping it in the actual twine. Get this guys perfectly wet. Let them sit in there for a bit, absorb some of that water, and in the meantime, I'm going to prepare my plant. So what I'm gonna do is first, I'm gonna separate it from the nursery pot. You just gotta have a little squeeze, squish it there, and then it should slowly pop out. Now, all of this soil that's in here, we're gonna use that soil as well. So we're just gonna separate, break up this nice ball of soil, because we're gonna wanna use some of that later. Now, I'm separating my friend here because I'm trying to take not only the shield frond, but all of the leaf fronds as well. We want that shield frond, which is this guy here. This is your shield frond. That is what's gonna grow on the side of your board. So now my plant is ready, sized for my board. I've removed some of the roots, got those shield fronds and those leaf fronds ready to go. I'm now gonna take some of the actual potting soil here. I'm gonna take some of this peat, sprinkle some of that in there, making a nice soil mixture for myself. And now that my sphagnum moss is a bit on the damper side, I'm gonna take some of this as well and mix it in. All of these mosses together will help keep the moisture at a good level for this particular plant, for your ferns, for your Hoyas. It's just a good way to keep everything together and keep those roots surrounded in moisture. Once you have this to a certain point where it is probably half and half, a bit of moss to soil ratio, I would say, that's when you know you're ready. It's kind of like pliable, almost like soil, but you see it's kind of airy and just loose. That's a good sign there. Once you have it to that point, then you can take it and start to apply it to your board in the center of your nails. This is where your plant is going to live. Now that I got my mixture in between my nails, I'm going to add the plant on top of that mixture there, nestled right in between all 4 nails. Now that it's there, our moss here, it should be well soaked, pulling in all of that moisture, that good moisture, easier to manipulate at this point. Now we're just gonna kind of make a little nest for it. We're gonna work this moss around the sides of our soil. This little pocket of moss is gonna hold our soil and mosses together all nice and tight under there. Now, if you could see it here, you'll see that everything in this whole base is covered in moss here. And what'll start to happen is over time, your shield fronds will start to develop and grow over your moss in this part of the plant. In here, this is where all of the moisture needs to be applied when you're caring for this plant. So you wanna make sure that all that goodness, where your roots are, where the soil is, where all that moss is, that needs to be well watered to make sure that that moisture stays on your plants. Now, once I got that set, now I'm gonna start to wrap it in twine. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my twine. Now, you can use any sort of string. You could use invisible wire. You can use yarn if you like. The one thing I would definitely not use is metal wire. You don't want that rusting because of how wet and moist you need that soil to be. Now, I'm gonna tie a nice little area here just to get it ready to go around my first nail. So I find the nail back here, get it around there, and then I close the loop nice and tight. I'm probably gonna make a nice little knot here so that I know that it is definitely secure. There we go, nice and tight. Now that I have this on there, I'm going to wrap it around every single nail. So I'm gonna go across from the top right nail to the bottom left nail, and I'm gonna wrap it around that nail. And then you're gonna cross over. I like to come down here to the bottom right, wrap it around that bottom nail. And then from there, come across to the top left nail, almost creating a little X in the center. And then from there, it's just kind of going around and just making it secure. Sometimes I'll wrap all the way around the base of the nails, get that going, and then I wanna switch from one nail to the other, just securing all of this moss, making it nice and tight. Now you're gonna leave yourself a little room at the end because you're gonna have to tie it nice and tight to the end of your nail. So with this last little bit of rope, I'm gonna make another little loop, and I'm gonna keep pulling until I have it nice and secure around that nail. Oh man, look at this. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm really into the way this one turned out. I love the fact that it just changes and becomes something completely its own once you start to attach it to the board. I love how a lot of the board is still exposed because you're still seeing that live edge. And over time, these shield fronds, the new ones, will start to cover the moss, cover the board. And once they do actually get to the edges of the boards, these shield fronds here, that's when you're gonna wanna switch it out to a bigger board. So that's important to know. Now, when you are mounting other like plants, ferns, Hoyas, philodendron like this, you're gonna want to do that same mounting process. But there are other plants that you can mount that is something a bit easier, and that's when it comes to mounting air plants. Now that process is you're still using that same reclaimed wood in your air plant. Air plants are epiphytic plants, which means they don't need soil, they grow on other plants. Now what I'm gonna do here is take some super glue, and you're just gonna add a bit of super glue to the back side of your air plant here, down to the lower side of that air plant, and then you're gonna take it, and you're just gonna apply it to there. Put a little pressure on there, not too much, you don't wanna harm your living plant, and then over time, it should be stuck there, and then mount it like so. When it comes to your air plants, when it comes to your ferns, when it comes to all the epiphytic plants that you can mount on board, that's the process that you have to go through. You might have to get your hands dirty, but once you see that living wall, it'll be well worth it. So now that I have them up on the wall, I gotta make sure that I keep my living art alive. And that's when we're talking about care. When it comes to watering them, you gotta make sure that they have the right humidity. So twice a week, I'll come by and I will mist my friends. And once a week, I'll take them all off the wall and put them in a sink full of water, tub full of water. Just make sure I soak them in water, let them sit in there, take them out, let them dry, and then I'll place them back on the wall. You wanna keep it looking fresh, you wanna keep it looking green, you wanna keep it looking alive. That's what you'll have to do to make sure you keep them cared for. Loving what we did here. This living wall is, in fact, alive. So much lushness, so much greenery exploding out. Now, I could have made it smaller. I could have done one solo with this blue star here, or I could have made it a little vignette with these stags, but I decided to go full on statement. You know, the statement that I love plants, and maybe you do too. So maybe you do go with this statement piece. I just feel like whatever you decide to do, a living art, living wall works in any type of home.